Well, it's time once again to go out to California, wherein resides a gentleman by the name of Michael Snyder. And it's a good place to be because that's where all the movies are made. And he reviews them. And he's with us right now. Hi, Michael. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, Alex. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. Just getting ready for all those SAG screeners that should be coming my way in the next couple of weeks.
Some of them will be delectable, I'll tell you. And a winter is upon us, and it's the end of the year, and all the Oscar bait is being dangled in front of the critics, and people are voting and doing their various and sundry polls and stuff. I just wrapped up my ballot for the San Francisco Film Critics Circle. That's right, I'm in LA most of the time, but my permanent address remains your hometown and my favorite city on the planet, San Francisco. And I say that in full knowledge that it's crawling with technoids and morons now and the entitled. But hey, I will proceed here with the movies that are opening this weekend, one of which is maybe my favorite film of the year, maybe one of my top 3 films of the year, and a very unlikely product of a very unlikely director. But first, let's get to In the Heart of the Sea, which is a new film from director Ron Howard, our boy Opie, a man who actually turned into a pretty solid populist director after being on a sitcom or two when he was a kid. And In the Heart of the Sea is an adaptation of a true story, It was the inspiration for the novel Moby Dick. Apparently in 1820, a seagoing vessel was attacked by a gigantic and powerful whale that basically tore the ship apart and put all the lives of the crew in jeopardy and resulted in craziness at sea and shipwrecks and death and devastation, and also a few people like actually having a vendetta against the whale. Man, where have you heard this story before? Well, Herman Melville apparently hears about this and goes to investigate the story in a whaling village in New England, and he finds out from the elderly former cabin boy of the Essex what happened. And so what we do as a viewer is go along with Melville, who is played by Ben Whishaw of The Hour, and he's Q in the Bond films now, and also stars in a new miniseries from the UK called London Spy, and he's going to find out this story. So they have the fantastic Brendan Gleeson playing the now elderly cabin boy. And we meet the various members of the crew of the Essex as they set out for disaster. It's, with the special effects we have now, everything's pretty plausible. And you'll believe a ship can sink. You'll believe a giant whale can attack a ship. You'll believe a lot of harpoons are going to get tossed. And in terms of the cast, the crew includes Cillian Murphy and a man who I now believe is the John Wayne of the 21st century, Chris Hemsworth, who everyone knows as Thor from the Marvel films. He plays the very seasoned seaman who goes out to sea in the Essex as the kind of brains and toughness for a callow captain played by Benjamin Walker. And fantastic work from all the actors. The effects are good. To me, it's kind of a boilerplate situation, but it was sort of exciting, and I thought fairly well done. It's just that we've been here before. We've seen this sort of thing before, and now it's done with such expert special effects again, and a solid cast, and it looks, really, really good. And the story unfolds in a good way. Ron Howard is a solid director. He knows what he's doing. And I thought In the Heart of the Sea, while not one of the best films of the year, is certainly worth your time. And it's odd that I could maybe compare it to Bridge of Spies, which I wasn't blown away by. But I thought, man, this is just so well made, and the story is so engaging, and the actors are so good, and the art direction, what have you. They're accomplished, professional, well-made films. And that's what I'd have to say about In the Heart of the Sea. Let's move on to, like I said, what may be my favorite film of the year, The Big Short. And what a knotty problem it is to tell a story and deliver fact-based information of the nature that The Big Short does in expert fashion, and I mean with great panache. It's hard to believe that Adam McKay, director of the Anchorman movies and other silly Will Ferrell comedies, is the guy behind this endlessly fascinating look at a handful of prescient but derided brokers and speculators who predicted the housing, mortgage, and banking crisis that triggered the 2008 recession. But this is the guy who's at the helm of this thing, and it's kind of a docu-comedy, and it totally crackles. And it benefits from an inspired script that he co-wrote, by the way, one that's peppered with pointed wit and with note-perfect casting and performances down to the smallest cameo. And then there's a smattering of cameos that will make you grin. This is clever, informative, exciting, and funny, with standout work from Christian Bale as a doctor turned broker, a drummer, a Californian, a kind of guy who actually he dances to the beat of his own drummer, who actually foresees all of this and is considered kind of a lunatic. Christian Bale, as you've never seen him. Steve Carell as a uptight, wound-up guy in Manhattan who also runs a firm, a consulting and brokerage firm. Ryan Gosling, Brad Pitt as one of those sort of insider types who decides to help the other guys out and make other ignorant people aware of what is about to happen. I mean, it's shocking that it comes from McKay, and they often aim low in stuff like Anchorman, but this is a total win. And also, I mean, among the supporting players, it's really amazing, the mix of television actors and screen stars, and also a few real life people. For instance, Karen Gillan of Doctor Who and of Guardians of the Galaxy has a tiny role in this. Max Greenfield, who plays Schmidt on New Girl, the Zoe Deschanel comedy, has a terrific little role in this thing. Rafe Spall, the British actor, son of Timothy Spall, he's been in a lot of different things. Hamish Linklater, they're among the cronies of the Steve Carell character. And again, everyone brings their A game. I thought The Big Short was a surprise and an incredible treat. And if you find these things a little difficult to understand, this crisis and all the details, and too big to fail and the bank problems, one of the things McKay does is at 3 points in the film, he has real people kind of show up and explain it in layman's terms and make you understand it. And I don't want to ruin the surprise. Oh, what the hell? They include Selena Gomez. And they also include Anthony Bourdain in a very, very funny sequence in the kitchen where he's actually kind of dropping a little science about economics. So, yeah, I say a big thumbs up to The Big Short. And that's kind of it in terms of major films coming out. A few movies are going to come out in the next week or two, and we'll try to deal with them then. But I do want to mention ahead of time, just briefly, so you're prepared for it, a movie I thought that was probably the best foreign film of the year, Son of Saul. And you remember Life is Beautiful.
I thought it was the sequel to Better Call Saul. So.
No, you wish, but I know that eventually we're going to see Saul on the big screen, but that's not this one. You remember, though, the furor and the excitement of that wonderful, warm visit to a Nazi concentration camp. Life is Beautiful. And this movie is basically that without any of the humor and any of the sort of sweetness. It's a brutal, up close and personal look at one Jewish man who is compelled to help the Nazis, his captors, herd other Jews to their deaths. And it's...
this film's been done before. I remember a film a few years ago about a guy and I can't remember who did it. It came from an unexpected source. And it was all about that. Leading the Jews into the gas chambers.
Well, wasn't The Day the Clown Cried, the Jerry Lewis movie that never came out, basically the same story as well? Although,
not really. This other film, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. I would think you would remember it. Was all about that same topic. I mean, it's not the first time that this particular subject has been visited.
And that's true. I have to say, Roberto Benigni's "Life Is Beautiful" though is the one that got all the fuss and all the attention. And this movie really, Son of Saul, has the kind of gravitas and
Yeah.
darkness, and it never flinches from its subject matter, and it's really kind of a horrifying circumstance. And it's
Well, no need to review it next week. You just did.
well, I want people to understand that it's powerful stuff. And hey, who wants to go to Auschwitz? I don't particularly want to go to Auschwitz, but I went, and again, I got right into the middle of it. The movie's from Hungary, and the lead character is a Hungarian guy.
Yeah.
Geza Rohrig is the actor, and yeah, the movie came out in Europe. So screw people who are complaining that they can't see it this week. Hang out, watch it next week, or you may find it a little too rough. I just thought it was powerful.
I don't think this is the kind of film that people are going to go flocking to. Okay, I mean,
Well, maybe not.
that kind of depression works well on Netflix.
Well, you know what? That's when they'll see it then. I'm just telling you, Son of Saul, one of the better films I've seen this year, and I kind of set it apart from my usual, top 7, top 10, top 15, because it is in a foreign tongue and it has subtitles. But I wanted to kind of round things out a little bit and give people a preview of the fact that they could go to their local art house next week and the week after if they're having like kind of a blockbuster OD.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
What's up in TV land for you, pal?
Nothing much. And Netflix has got this Bill Murray Christmas special. It's okay.
I did love, I will say, a very Murray Christmas does have the benefit of really good music direction. They chose some interesting people. I love Phoenix, the French band. They're in this thing.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's not, but it's an hour and nobody gets hurt. Okay. But it's not like, oh, hey, you got to go see this. This is spectacular.
No, it's pretty low impedance. But Jenny Lewis, the Los Angeles singer-songwriter from Rilo Kiley, who's now a solo artist, she plays a waitress at the Carlisle Hotel. Buster Poindexter is the bartender. The basic premise, if people don't know, is that Bill Murray's at the Carlisle in New York during a snowstorm, and he's waiting for his ostensible guests for a special that's supposed to go live on, I guess, worldwide television. George Clooney and maybe Miley Cyrus has been promised to him, and there's a lot of cool supporting players in it.
She actually was surprisingly good on this thing, really surprisingly good.
And Miley Cyrus is pretty. Her performance is first rate. I mean, she's got a great voice and she has a great presence. Look, it's fun. It's weird. No, you're right. It's not a big deal. But I found it had a certain kind of scruffy charm, much like Bill Murray himself. So
yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is I really wish it were great, but it was just okay.
Well, Sofia Coppola directs, and again, interesting choice of musical guests, and the supporting players include Amy Poehler and a few other SNL people, Maya Rudolph. Look, you're not going to get hurt. Nobody gets hurt. Like you said, in an hour, you're diverted, and there's a certain measure of charm there.
Yeah. Well, that's about it. I can't think of anything else that I've watched that had me gasping. I just think that Fargo is far and away maybe one of the best television shows on TV.
I will say that I have been totally loving You're the Worst, which is one of my favorite sitcoms of the past year or so, on FX, about a mismatched, well, they're not mismatched, they're both assholes. A kind of struggling novelist whose first book got kind of mediocre reviews. He's trying to get his second together, and a PR person who works for a really obnoxious rap trio. And the two of them are so self-absorbed and self-centered, they find one another. And I'm telling you, this is a very good situation comedy. And I've really been enjoying that. And I did wrap up Jessica Jones finally. Saw the entire thing. And I thought,
good show.
Very satisfying, and I'm looking forward to the next show in the Marvel Hell's Kitchen Netflix TV series chain, which I believe is Daredevil Series 2.
No, I don't know. I think it's the black guy they're doing next.
No, I think Luke Cage comes after Daredevil Series 2.
Oh, okay. Well, originally they were going to do each of them one right after the other, and then and
I
then
guess
of course the Defenders will be the big one.
yeah, the response to Daredevil was so good. I think they went right into production again.
Yeah.
And John Bernthal of, among other things, The Walking Dead is kind of one of the big bads in the next series of Daredevil.
Netflix is doing such good stuff that at the Golden Globes, the #1 network getting Golden Globes nominations this year wasn't HBO; it was Netflix.
Crazy.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Crazy.
how times have changed. Anyway, that's about it, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Tell-
Let's
tell-
wrap it up, and we'll be back with a lot more for the holiday season next week. In the meantime, you can check me out on Twitter at Culture Blaster and listen to Alex and myself. Rerun on Roku, and certainly at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page on Facebook.
In the meantime, Michael,
Yes.
we'll see you next week.
Okie doke.
And there's more GABNet coming right up. Well, it's time.